Hello, everybody, and welcome to Counterintelligence episode that God didn't want us to make. We've been trying to make this episode for like 2 months, but there's been sickness and tournaments and yeah, God knows what. A lot of internet problems.
Yeah, yeah, life happened and internet, yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So today we're going to talk about command tokens. Something you may have heard spoken about if you're new to the game, but you haven't had the time to put that into your head because it's quite a lot of rules, but they're quite useful. So we're gonna get through it today.
Yep.
So command tokens. You can find the full rules on page 125 of the rules, and go through it yourself if you want, or put it up now and watch it as we go through it. We're gonna go through the different ones. So you usually have 4 command tokens. This can be changed by lieutenant plus 1 command token skill, or in some ETS missions like highly classified and panic room have joint command, which gives you an additional command token, which is very useful. There are 3 times when you can use command tokens. They are the before the game use, the before your turn use, and during your turn. And we will go through them step by step. So it is the before the game or strategic use, the before your turn, which is executive use, or during your turn, which is operational use. Go through them in order. So before the game, procedural. As a first player, before you start your game, you can choose to spend a command token to hold an extra unit in reserve. And this stacks with your normal unit. And if you have Strategos, it stacks with that, so you can hold up to 3 units in reserve if you want. And when you reserve a unit, you also reserve its peripherals. So in some cases, that can be a lot of models that you keep uh, in reserve. And you want to do this because either you want to keep your lieutenant safe and not let your opponent know where you put an obvious lieutenant, or you might want to hold a strong attack piece back, like a tag or something, so your opponent doesn't know where it will stand and strike from. Or maybe you have a good ARO unit that you want in a specific place to be able to uh, be a problem for your opponent. Do you have any special uses for holding an extra reserve?
I mean, as you mentioned, like holding the lieutenant or holding extra gun pieces, I sometimes have like a smoker along with an MSV2, so I can deploy them at the perfect place. Like I see where their AROs are standing and they don't have MSV on this corner, and I can deploy both of them. That way I can really strike. Because I feel sometimes I fail to like read impetuous orders, and since a lot of smokers have impetuous, I want to use that free order to throw the smoke, and then you can like, I know, because then I can move over here and throw the smoke, and I see almost everything on your table. So that one. But otherwise, yeah, no, holding your lieutenant for sure is like the main holding that one, or like your primary gun piece, especially if it's hackable.
Yeah, and me as an assassins player, I usually hold my Fidei in so I can put an impersonator close to the thing that I need to kill.
Yeah, and that's why me as facing has players keep it reserved the one that I don't want attack today, because like yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's a good plan. It's a good plan.
yeah.
Yeah. Now we can move on because those are your only option if you're the first player. But as second player, you get 3 options. You can choose to tax your opponent on orders. This is like what you use 99% of the time. Uh, it's the best and safest option. It by spending 1 command token, you remove 2 regular orders from your opponent. So it's you can choose if you remove them from one group, you take 2 orders from a group, or you can split them out, remove 1 order from each group. Uh, a thing to be wary about is if your opponent has counterintelligence, because counterintelligence limits the attacks to only 1 order. so it's a little bit less efficient. But it can still be important. One order is one order. So it's good if you face an opponent, you can ask if they have any obvious models that have counterintelligence, like Veronin in Ariadna or the Alpha in O12, always has counterintelligence. So it's a good thing to ask, like, is there? And most of your opponents will say, yeah, this one always has it. So good thing to know. You can't use it if an opponent has only 10 orders, counting regular orders, tactical orders, and irregular orders. So not counting impetuous or lieutenant orders. So if they have only 10 orders, then you can't tax them. And this can be used like if you have strategos and you convert your lieutenant orders to regular orders, then they count. But it's an optional skill, so you can choose not to use strategos, and that way keep your lieutenant's order and not get taxed. If you have an NCO or a fighting lieutenant, that is. Yeah, this is usually what we use when we do it, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I generally tax even if they have counterintelligence, because spending one command token to remove one order is generally worth it.
Yeah.
Like looking at the other way around, was it last season where you had the O12 rules? You can spend a command token to get an order, and we use that all the time. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, if I can take it the other way around, that should be good.
Yeah.
I have a question though. Like, how do you usually prioritize which group you're taxing?
I usually tax the biggest group. That's because I don't like to think. But as I learned in my last game, it's good to look and like where is the main gun piece. If you have a lot, I have a lot of mines and shit. So it's good to tax that gun piece, and my opponent had it in his little group. So if I had taxed that group, I would have probably survived that game a lot better.
Yeah.
But yeah, usually I just go with the big group without thinking.
Yeah, because we have had a discussion, me and my last opponent during Hellcon, which we played this weekend. Because he was like, I always tax the small group, because the big group, even with 8 orders, can do the thing it want to do. It maybe be like, maybe not able to retreat as much, or it had to be a bit more careful. But if you tax the second group, that goes from generally like 5 or 6 to 3 or 4 orders, and that almost like half the things it can do, which can really stop it. But it's, as you mentioned, like it depends on what you see as their game plan. So as a general, like tackling the first group is always good, because you're gonna get less of a punch in your face. So yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So then we go on to limiting command token use. And this is kind of niche. This allows you to make it so your opponent can use less command tokens during his turn. This is mostly used if you play like biotech war, where your opponent has to get all of his troops out of his deployment. So you limit the amount of coordinated orders they can use. But it's good to know that it's there in case you play biotech war. Want to be mean to your vanilla playing opponent.
Total dick. That's I
Yeah.
hadn't even considered, because whenever I looked at this, like I spend a command token to force my opponent to only spend one command token. It's like, when is this useful? But yeah,
Yeah.
biotech war for sure.
It's like only used in biotech war, and it's like the reason why people don't want to play vanilla in biotech war, because someone can use this against you. So yeah,
Right.
I think it's a little unnecessary to keep, if I'm gonna be totally honest with you. But it's there, and now you know about it.
Yeah.
So your third option is to put a model in suppressive fire. This can be quite fun, especially if you mod stack. Like if you have a mimetism -6 model midfield and you put it in suppressive, then it has mimetism -6, cover -3, and you get -3 from suppressive. So it's a -12 to fight that thing. And it can be like in times where you know your opponent has counterintelligence and you have a model with these things, it can be worth using it because you know that they will probably need to spend more than 2 orders to resolve that situation. But yeah, so it can be done. It's quite fun if you play like Tunguska and the Puppet Master, which is one model and it can have 3 Puppet Bot peripherals. Because if you put a model with peripherals in suppressive, all the peripherals that can go into suppressive also go into suppressive. So you can pay 1 command token to put 4 models into suppressive, and that's quite a neat trick. That's pretty nasty to dig out.
Oh yeah. Jeez. Yeah.
Yeah, I considered this tournament. I played Algebel, which is a Fidei that shoots fire ammunition, and he has a rifle. And at one point, I was thinking about putting him in suppressive fire with fire ammunition and just be a problem for a fire team. But sadly, I failed my role for impersonation deployment into the opponent.
Oh.
But yeah, it could have been real cool.
Yeah.
Yes, and these are your options as second player, uh, and you only get to spend both first player and second player only get to spend 1 command token. So choose wisely, and wisely is usually to tax.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
And the
especially when it comes to like removing 2 orders or putting 1 model into suppressive fire. It's yeah. There are
uh,
occasions, but generally.
only 2 things are certain in life: death and taxes. Yeah,
Cool.
and then we have logistical options, which is that both players can spend a command token to get Speedball. This is in addition to your other command token that you spend. So you can spend 2 in total, but only 1 in the first, and the second must be for Speedball. And so we're going to go through Speedball. Speedball, you buy it at the beginning of the game, and it allows you to request Speedball later in the game. You can request Speedball during your turn and between orders. And it gives you, it works like this. You buy it, and then when you need it, you place 2 of its tokens on the board. They're 55mm tokens, so they're really big. You can't just get them exactly where you want to. They're quite big. You place both of them, and then you choose one of those tokens, and you get to choose which type of thing is on that speedball, and the other one is randomized on the speedball chart. And I think the rules are on page 85 or 84. You look them up there if you need to. When you have placed them, then you roll a pH roll of 14. If it succeeds, they land. The first one lands where it lands, and then you roll for the other one. And if it succeeds, it lands there. If it doesn't succeed, then you place them in your deployment zone, touching one of the edges. And good to know is that this PH14 roll, it is a combat jump roll, but it can't be affected by Evo Hacker control jump bonus, because that only applies to models. And this is not a model, this is token. Yeah, so that's how you get them on the board. And now I'm going to go through what they are and how they work. So speedballs, when they are on the board, an allied model that moves and touches it automatically picks it up, and they can't transfer it to anyone. So they have it, and they have to use it on someone. And to use it on someone, you have to walk into base contact with them and spend a short skill to automatically do the thing that the speedball does. And first up, we have Vita Pack. Vita Pack, it has to be used on a trooper that has Vita, and it automatically heals that model 1 wound if the model is unconscious. Pretty straightforward. And then we have Auto Repair Suit, which is the same, but it's for models that have STR, so it heals your robots. And then we have the third thing, which is switch on. You walk into contact with someone, and you automatically cancel immobilized state, A or B, isolated or stunned state of an allied trooper. So it's pretty good to use. Then we have a jetpack. The bearer gets to use super jump for one order, and it can only be used by Silhouette 2 models. And then we have overkill. The bearer of the Speedball item may choose between two modes. First mode allows its user to cancel the unloaded state, so you get all your Panzerfaust or mines back. Or you can use it to, during one order, get -1 SR on your BS attacks. So the opponent's saving roll is one lower, so it lowers the pos of the damage. It can be useful sometimes to get through those big chunky boys. And then we have Nano Shield that says if a trooper has to make any saving rolls, they must automatically apply +2 mod to all their saving rolls in the resolution step of the order. So for one order, you get +2 to all your saving rolls. Can also be quite neat. The three most used are, of course, the Vita Pack, the Auto Repair Suit, and Switched On, because you want to get your boys up again, and it's usually quicker than running with your doctor from your deployment zone out there and healing them. And since it's automatic, it's a very safe option. And then you have Switch On, which is really good to use on your HI, your tag, or REM that has been hacked or glued, and it'll remove that so you can use it again. It's also one of two ways to get stunned off your model, which is really important sometimes when those nasty flashbots have messed up your day. But it's also cool to use a jump pack. So yeah. What's your thoughts on the speedballs?
No, I agree. I mean, usually I play a lot of. I bet most people do, but a lot of Vita models. So the Vita pack is definitely the one that I drop most often. But the switch on the stun, if I just remember that in my first game on the tournament, oh, how happy I would have been, because my Hippolyta failed a versus roll against a flashball spot and got stunned like 6 inches from a Seda.
Ah,
So it was really like, I want to kill that Seda, but nope, not this time. But this could probably have saved it. So yeah.
yeah,
But
it's a niche use of it, but sometimes it's really important to get that stun state off, and you can only get it from that or from your engineer doing an engineer roll.
yeah. But otherwise, I felt like the jetpack is like surprisingly neat. I mean, movement ability is always neat, but if you have characters that has 6 movement, or even better for torchlight, since a lot of the models have bonus in jump for some reason. So they can jump an extra inch, so they have
Yeah,
a 9-inch super jump move with the jetpack, and that can
yeah,
really surprise people. Whereas like, okay, I'm standing down here, and all of a sudden you have a hellblazer jumping out and crossing the roof and just hitting them in the face. It's more situational for sure. The other ones are like more sane to use, but every
yeah,
now and once and again.
yeah. I think overkill is the one I've never used, uh, but that's mostly because I haven't gotten it randomly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The nano shield,
it's a very good tool.
sorry. The nano shield feels like it could be good on some of the units, uh, like a Jotun running across something and going up to 12 armor, or like when you already have quite a lot of mods, so you can
Yeah,
really like punch it for some otherwise dangerous fight.
yeah, it's
Or
really
just to
neat.
like, if you have multiple structure or vita, to have it during the ARO, so if you get shot you get to pivot, because you're probably
Yeah,
gonna make the save because you have those +2 extra on the save.
yeah, it's really sweet. It's
Yeah.
good thing to like if you're gonna play with Speedball, and you should. Uh, it's good to have mobile units to pick them up with, because usually I've stopped using them in my assassin play because I don't really have a small guy that can just pick them up and run speedily to my guys to heal them up, because usually that's my guy that's just failed and is laying face down somewhere, and I'm like, yeah, I get the speedball, but I have no one that can run up. Like, I had to use McMurrow to run and heal people, and then McMurrow is not doing his job and is a sad boy. uh, but yeah, he's my best doctor.
Do you change your deployment like having the speedball in mind? Like, because I started thinking about it, like having like runners close to like the corners of your deployment zone. So like on the edge, but further up, so you can place the speedball, touch it, and then run.
No, that's smart. No, I haven't used it like that.
And also another question: do you know like the speedball, does it block movement for your opponent?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's move. They can move to it, but I'm not 100% sure. But I learned that the next time I'm placing a fide on a rooftop that's filled with other guys, I should just push it 1 centimeter so it blocks if they try to call down speedballs in the future.
This designated landing area, I'm standing there, and my
Yep,
name is Bob.
can't land on Bob's corpse. Yeah, yeah, we can move on from the speedball. So now we go to executive use. This is before your turn. So in your order count step, you do this. And the first one is you can cancel possessed on a tag. You just use a command token and the tag stops being possessed. Quite neat, quite handy. Good to have in your back pocket if you play like a really aggressive tag, because there's a lot of hackers out there that want to steal your cool stuff. I heard the winner at Halfinity stole Tikbalang and just killed most of his opponent's models with it. So yeah, you want to be able to get that back. And the second one is that you can move models between groups permanently. So you can take a model from your small group and move it into your big group if there is space in it. So and you have space in it if you either have like 9 models and 6 models, and you always have a space open. But if a model dies, it also leaves a space open. But if they're unconscious, they stay there. So if you want to swap around, then you have to use 1 command token to move the unconscious model into the small group, and then you can use 1 command token to move a healthy model from the small group into the big group. I had this on my Affinity game. I had 1 model left in my second group, and I had 9 models and an unconscious model in my big group. So it really sucks spending that extra command token just to get your guy to do something. So yeah, it can be a good thing to think about that. Like if when you make your groups, that maybe you want to play a 9-6 split. I've even seen 8-7 splits played sometimes. So it can be a good idea to do that, because sometimes like you have a gun piece that you think is I'm gonna spend like 6 orders on him, but then you look at the table and you're like, oh, this is really open. My tag is just gonna kill everything. So then you can move your tag from your small group to your big group and have 11 orders on him, stomp around with his tactical awareness. So it's very good to know that it's there. 'Cause sometimes, yeah, people get stranded in groups without orders. Yeah, have you used any of these?
I never have my tag being possessed. I think I can't recall at least. But there was a Starmada player during the tournament who got his tag possessed 3 times in a single game. So
Each
So
each turn.
yes, like okay. So no, it's cool. I like it as well. Like having the possessed bit, it's super powerful. So having a way to break it is nice. The moving unit, definitely. I'm sometimes when I have like other options, I'm like curious, like should I move or shouldn't I? And but especially with my group two, because generally I build them with having like one piece that's supposed to spend the orders, and everyone else is a cheerleader. And my primary group has several pieces that I can move. So when the primary like action piece in my group two dies, it's rather than move from group one to group two. So that's my way of going from the like having 10 people in the primary group perspective.
Yeah.
The only way that the other person would be stranded is if you kill the 4 cheerleaders in that group, and if you do that, then yes, it's a problem. But I heard like it seems like the 9-6 split is really favored in some metas, where
Yeah.
they like this is the way to go kind of deal. I'm I'm not really sold on it. I like having my 10 or even like most of the time 11 because I have NCO and use my lieutenant order, and
Yeah.
sometimes even going further in one group. It's just so nice. Like just push everything forward.
Yeah, it's really nice. Playing hack, you usually have like a lot of irregular orders or a lot like I play a lot of hidden models. So I always play like 12 orders per game and no NCO. It can be quite tight sometimes.
Yeah, that sounds tight.
Yeah, and it's usually worth it. But in my last game there on Hellfinity, I really felt it because I lost 4 models my first turn, and it was rough getting out of that.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I died.
Yeah. Lesson learned, maybe.
Yes, until my next.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we have operational use, and this is during your active turn. So this can only be done in your active turn, not in your reactive. And the first one is to modify a guts roll. So here you can choose if you fail or succeed on a guts roll by spending a command token. The 2 important things to remember is this is after the roll, so you get to see what you rolled, and it uh, it as I said, it has to be used in the active. You really want to use this in ARO, but sadly, you can't. So it's good to know because sometimes you have that religious model that just won't get into cover when he needs to. Uh, and then it's good to use the command token to get that moron into cover, save their life. Yeah. The second, you can convert irregular orders. This is probably like the most used, uh, which is you can take a yellow irregular order and you can turn it into a green irregular order. So everyone can use that order. So it's good to use like standard uses. You have a war core in your list and you convert their order into a regular order at the turn. It's also good to use if you get into loss of lieutenant, because then all your orders are irregular orders. So then it can be good to have a bunch of command tokens so you can get your guys to do what they're supposed to do. Yeah. And then we have to negate the retreat state. If you go 75 points or lower, then you go into retreat if the mission allows you to go into retreat. And yeah, and here you can get it to ignore the retreat state. And that's very important because when you're in retreat, you're not allowed to attack, and it's an attack to press a button. You're only allowed to use basic short skills, and it's not a basic short skills to interact with objectives or to shoot someone. So it can be really important to go like, yeah, I want to press the objective before the game ends. That's a good thing to have in your head. And the fourth thing you can do is you can re-roll your doctor roll if your target has a cube. And if you look at the screen, we showed you the cube symbol. It's below your unit type and above your order type. So it's if you see that little face, those 3 little guys, then you have cube, and then you can get your wounds re-rolled. And this you can use multiple times, like you fail your doctor roll, I spend a command token, I reroll it, I fail it again, I spend a command token, I reroll it, and I succeed. You can do that as many times as you have command tokens. And it's not affected, the reroll is not affected in case you have, there's like doctor reroll -3. So you roll your doctor, it fails. You get the reroll with -3, it fails. And then you use a command token to reroll that. Then it's not -3, it's on your full whip. So it's a good thing to keep in mind there. Yeah. And then we have number 5, which is you can reroll engineering rolls. And you can do this if the target has the remote presence skill. And this is a skill, so you have to check the special skills to see if it has this. Most robot fellows have these. And same here, you can do it multiple times if you need to and if you have the command tokens. And 6th, you can create the fire team. And this is how you create a new fire team, or if your fire team has broken down, you can reform it again. We're not going to go into how you create fire teams this episode. We're going to talk about fire teams in an upcoming episode. So stay tuned for that if you're interested, because it's also quite a bunch of rules. Yeah. And finally, the 7th option, you can do a coordinated order. And here we're going to go into the deep part of this, because it's quite complex and very useful. So by doing this, you spend a command token and you spend a regular order, and you can pick 4 models in the same combat group to do a coordinated order. These models, they have to be all of them have to be regular, or all of them have to be irregular. You can't mix and match. They have to have the same type of orders. So it works like this. You choose one model, that's the spearhead. They get half of their burst, so they can, if they have burst 4, they get burst 2. And everyone else in the order gets burst 1 if you're doing an attack. And then you perform your first action, everyone has to do this, and then you perform your second action. And when you after you perform your first action, you get arrows. And a model can only react to one model doing something, and it can only target one model. So if you move 4 models in front of one arrow piece, they have to choose which model they are arrowing against. And once they have chosen their arrow, you declare your second coordinated. And if the second action has a target, you have to have the same target to be able to do that. And this is quite useful to get them to do things. Like, it's a good way to deal with, like, if you have an Atalanta or something, some arrow piece that's a monster and that's stopping you from doing what you need to do, then you can do this and they get to shoot only one, and your 3 other guys get an unopposed shot, which is pretty neat because it's hard to fight some models. We have some examples of these that we have drawn up. Well, I drew them up, and then Niklas made them so that you can look upon them without blowing your eyes out. So, first example, you can use it to use 4 models that have smoke grenades, and you can move them up and throw smoke. It's a very efficient way to smoke a lot of your battlefield, and you can do this. Since coordinated order doesn't care about any proximity of models to each other, you can do it over the entire battlefield as long as they're in the same command group. And it's good. And you can do this because they have targetless, and when they have targetless, you can choose different targets instead of the other rule where it's like if you shoot at someone, everyone has to shoot the same guy. But smoke can be thrown wherever you want. It's quite good, efficient. I've seen you do this against me and smoke up like half of your deployment. It was very annoying. Our next example, you can use one rem and up to 3 hackers, and you can move the rem into repeater range of the target you want to hack. And then as the second order, your hackers hack through that rem at that target. Everyone has to do the same hacking program. You can't split programs anymore. And the rem that can't hack will, of course, idle. So it's not a problem that they can't hack. It just idles. So it's very good because you get the firewall from the RAM, and you have 3 hackers, and the target has basically to choose to reset because that's the only one that goes against everything, like dodging and shooting.
Right. I was just gonna ask, like, compared to just like if we think about scenarios, since you're losing half of your burst. So if I would go with Trinity, for example,
Yeah,
then if I did it with one hacker, I would have burst 3. If I went with 3 hackers, it would be burst 3 down to 2, and plus 1 and 1, so it would be burst 4. But as you
yeah,
mentioned, since it's like if they want to hack back, then it's unopposed versus 2 of them, which is really nasty.
yeah. And that's the big thing about coordinated. You want to get those unopposed shots with your guys.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's hacking or gunning. It's very efficient.
Yes, so Ville accidentally disconnected. His phone didn't want to stick with us. But this was the thing that that Ville talked about earlier on. The fact that you can have multiple attack the same arrow. So if you have someone that's difficult, like Atalanta or Toyser or something else that's very, very hard to get rid of, you can do a coordinated order with multiple units. That way, if they want to fire back, they can only fire back at 1. So otherwise, it would dodge. And then you have 4 attacking pieces versus 1 dodge, which is generally in your favor, especially versus those really hard hitters. If you're ever feeling like you're stuck, try to maneuver and use your Panzerfaust or other like disposable long range weapons and pin them basically. So yeah, those are command tokens. They are very, very useful, but there's a lot of like different situations you can use them. So try to like think about scenarios, and especially afterwards, like look at could you have done something differently. Then like go through the list of command token usage and like, all right, I could have used a speedball over here, or if I did a coordinated order, I could get rid of this difficult ARO or something similar. That's usually when you learn to use them, or having scenarios where it could have been really useful. But otherwise, use this as a reference if you want, and good luck. So thank you, and see you next time.